Great Scott! We just came back to the future to bring you this quiz live from QuizGrizz headquarters.
QuizGrizz, an awesome game you can play on your phone. Earn points, learn stuff, and challenge your friends.
I'm here with Zachary Fowler, the winner of Season 3's Alone, where he survived for 87 days in Patagonia. Today, Zachary and I are going to do an interactive quiz where we go through the quiz that he wrote on surviving a flood. And we're going to play through the quiz. You can play along. The link should be right up in the description of the video. And if you're watching on a replay, no worries, go ahead and play along. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into it. Here's the first question. What is the first thing to do when you suspect potential flooding? Is it A, build a life raft, B, get in your car and drive north, C, seek more information by turning on your TV or radio, or D, phone your family members or friend? We have a lot of people saying that you need to get in your car and drive north. We're going to go ahead and go with that answer, and let's see if it's correct.
Denied. Yeah, seek more information. Like G.I. Joe says, the knowledge is half the battle, right? So always seek more information, especially if it's just an early alert and you know there's a storm coming. Don't jump the gun and take off, and you know, you put yourself in more danger if you move forward without knowledge.
The weather station indicates that flooding to some extent will happen in your area within the next 24 hours. What do you do? A, build or restock your emergency kit with flashlights, cash, first aid, fresh water, and other useful items. Figure out where to go should flooding occur. Turn on your TV or radio and follow weather updates. Or D, all of the above. I'm leaning toward all of the above on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that. Ding,
Yep.
ding, ding.
Yeah, that's the right answer. There is a lot to do before a flood. You know, checking the radio, preparing, getting all your ducks in order.
And question 3. You find yourself surprised by a flash flood. It hasn't reached your doorstep, but the streets are filling up with water. What do you do? A, call 911. B, put your mud boots on and hike out of the danger zone. C, turn off your utilities, electrical breakers, water, oil and gas, and then seek higher ground. D, jump in your car and get to higher ground. Getting a lot of answers to say you should turn off your utilities and then seek to higher ground.
They'd be right. Seeking higher ground, things like that are important, but if you have time, turning off your utilities might save your house, because if the power's on when the waters come in, it could cause fires, damage. If you got time, you could take your stuff from your lower floors and move it to the upper floors. No point in running off before you have a chance to save something. You know, these things can already be hard enough as it is, coming home and finding all your stuff destroyed. Take time and look around, see what you can bring your stuff in from outdoors, and make sure your pets are secure, and then find higher ground.
Okay, on to the next one. You do everything right and follow the evacuation instructions to leave the disaster area, but you run into water covering the road for what looks like the next 100 feet. What do? A, drive through the water fast so you don't lose momentum and stall out. B, drive through the water slowly so you can get back up if it gets too deep. C, refrain from walking or driving through floodwaters and find an alternate route. D, ditch your car and walk through the water to the other side. I'm just going to use common sense on this one and guess that you should refrain from walking or driving through the floodwaters. So I'm going to answer C.
That's right. Refrain from driving through floodwaters. You don't know what's underneath of them. The water could have been moving earlier, swept the road out. There could be debris that has washed in, which will puncture a tire and then leave you stranded in the middle of the water. I mean, if a bridge is missing and the water is settling because of a blockage further down, it could look like it's still there and there's nothing there. And then you're just going to be taking a deep plunge, and you're going to be putting other people in danger that have to come and rescue you. So always refrain from driving through water, because remember, it only takes 6 inches of water moving to sweep you off your feet, and it only takes a foot of water moving to sweep your car away, which is like, that's crazy. That's not a lot, you know?
You made a bad choice earlier and tried to cross the water with your car. You find yourself stalled out in the middle of the water covering the road, but it's not moving. What do? A, get on the roof of the car and shout for help until you are rescued. B, honk your horn until someone comes to help you. It's not safe to leave the car alone. C, stay put and hope for the best. Or D, abandon the car and find higher ground. We're getting some mixed answers on this one.
A lot of people like the honk your horn and call for help. Let's go for it. Let's see what that is.
All right, let's go for it.
And you're wrong. Yeah. honking your horn, I mean, it might not be a bad idea to honk your horn and make somebody else aware of your situation and things like that, especially if you can see somebody line of sight. But if the water is not moving, I would get out of the car and find, maybe if you can, if you see some floating debris, a stick or something so you can poke your way along, retrace your steps because you already drove that far so you know it's safe enough, retrace your steps and get out of there before the water is moving. Because if it's not moving, it's fairly safe. You know, there's still lots of nasty stuff in the water that can be very toxic to you. Getting cut on something that's floating around is a big concern. You could really get infected and it could ruin your day. So move slowly and get out of there if it's possible as quickly as possible, but not if it's moving.
Which of these is the safest place to flee to during the threat of a flash flood? A, a large oak tree nearby. B, your next door neighbor's house. C, don't panic, do nothing until you see the full extent of the flood. Or D, the closest higher ground. Go ahead and answer D, the closest higher ground.
Correct. The closest higher ground. Trees, as fun as they are, you don't want to be stuck up a tree while water is coming in. And the closest higher ground, mainly something solid, you know, like I don't know, a big hill or just uphill, you know, a mountain going, you know, where, and having this figured out beforehand is the key too. Knowledge, not being surprised by this. If a flood comes, you should have already known. Your family should have a plan and should have it all figured out so everybody knows where to go. You know, if Billy's over at Auntie's house or his buddy's house, you know, they should have a plan. You should be trusting, you know, your friends with your kids and a plan that they have a plan as well. So encourage people to have a plan and be prepared for this and not taken unawares.
A good preparedness plan means having a bug out bag or emergency kit ready before disaster strikes. What is not an essential to that kit? A, 1 gallon of water for each person in your party. B, a flashlight and extra batteries. C, a first aid kit. Or D, money.
Everybody's guessing money.
Let's put money in there.
But you're wrong. You're wrong. Money is actually a very essential part of a bug out kit, because if you've got to move and power and different things are out around the situation, you're not going to be able to stop and gas up your car if you haven't remembered to. So the wrong answer, the right answer, which was the wrong answer on this one, was having too much water, because a bug out bag with too much water, if you do end up walking, too much water is going to weigh you down. Water is very important, but it's best to have that in your bug out kit at home, and maybe a water bottle for each person or something so you can make your way clear of an area, but you don't want to be weighed down by too much, especially if you have to evacuate the car because you did try to drive through that water. You're dragging around a gallon of water for each family member. You might be the one that ends up getting dragged down after all that. So keep your bug out bags light, easy to throw in the car, maybe even one in the car, one in the home.
If you find yourself trapped by floodwaters and have nothing else to drink, how do you make the water safe to drink? A, you can't make it safe to drink. B, filter it through a shirt or cloth before drinking. C, boil it for at least 5 minutes. Or D, it's safe enough to drink as long as it's moving and you don't see too much floating around in it. I'm going to guess and say that no water is safe to drink. A.
Correct. No water is safe to drink. I think probably a lot of people, half the people might have gotten this wrong. But yeah, it seems like, oh sure, you can boil it, you know, that everybody always says boil for survival, boil.
That's what I always knew before, you know, learning from you that I couldn't do that.
Yeah, but exactly, there is bacteria from sewage that's now floating because of this, you know, septics backing up, things like that, disgusting, you know, all of that is very gross. Bacteria, very bad for you. Getting cut, it could be very dangerous to you during this time. You know, report any cuts, wash them all with clean water and antiseptic. It's really nasty water. There's petroleum byproducts, you know, heating fuel from homes, things like that is not safe to drink. There's nothing you can do to make it safe to drink.
What areas are at the highest risk of flooding? A, farmlands with rivers. B, people in areas with a lot of paved surfaces and storm drains. C, people in the path of a hurricane. Or D, all of the above. And I'm going to go ahead and go with B, people in areas with a lot of paved surfaces and storm drains.
No, it's all of the above. Farmlands, if you know, if they've been dried out, they can overflow really quickly because of surfaces not being, what do they say, permeable. You know, it can build up and then wash off. Paved surfaces build up lots of water and drain them into storm drains, which go into other, you know, and build up, and then they overflow. and people in the path of a hurricane. Seems like an obvious one, so it's all of the above.
Okay, so we just had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Sorry about that, trying to figure out how to do this live. But anyway, the last question was about what do you do if you're stuck on the roof, and
where you're saying you don't signal like this. That's how you wave off a helicopter. You don't start a fire and you want to signal a V for I need rescue and an X. And don't abuse this. If you can wait and you see other people that need rescue and somebody's going like this means you have injured. And that helicopter will know that you are a priority. So, you know, if you have injured and you need rescue, you want to make an X symbol or a V for you need rescue. And it would be smart to be prepared with your bug out bag on the roof, and you could put a SOS or a help and have a strobing flashlight to signal them as well while you're doing all this, and a signal mirror. You know, be prepared.
If you encounter power lines down in a flooded area, what should you do? A. Move swiftly until you're past the downed power lines. B. Keep your distance and turn back immediately. C. You're safe enough if you're wearing rubber boots. Or D. Try to find surfaces to climb on that will get you over the downed power line. I think just for the sake of being safe, we're going to want to keep our distance and turn back immediately. B.
And you'd be correct. There is, power lines are very dangerous. I remember when I was a kid having them go down near our house and they were just burning holes into the sidewalk. And they say even on dry ground, you can get shocked by power lines up to 30 feet away. So if you encounter power lines, you hit a telephone pole and you have to move away from them, even on dry ground, you know, maybe people are fleeing and you don't even see it in the water, you shuffle your feet slowly and move away, because even with rubber soles, you can still get shocked by lifting your feet up, moving too quickly. You move slow, shuffle your feet to a distance of 30 feet away, and then proceed with caution. And if you hit it in the water, just go back and find another way around.
Okay, what do you do when you come across someone trapped in floodwaters? Do you A. swim or make your way out to them and help them to safety? B. Provide them with some sort of flotation device without entering the waters yourself? C. Talk them into coming to you? Or D. Go for help? It looks like everyone's saying D. Go for help. That's incorrect.
Nope. You want to stay with somebody, but you don't want to enter the water to try and rescue them. I mean, don't be a hero. If there's something that you can provide them with, a flotation device, provide it with them. Moving water, like we said before, is very dangerous. You know, 6 inches can wash you away. A foot can wash a car away of moving water. So try to throw something to them that will provide them with help. If they're being washed away, try to get a rope to them, a line or something, and send, if you have 2 people, send somebody else to find a rescuer that might have a boat or something that can get that person out of the situation.
Okay, if you live in an area where flooding is even remotely possible, you should do all but this to prepare. A. Set aside a week's worth of supplies, including water, food, flashlights, and a battery-powered radio. B. Gas up your car before any storm in case you need to evacuate. C. Make sure your entire family has and is aware of your emergency preparedness plan. Or D. Make sure your favorite TV show is set on the DVR so you don't miss it. I think this one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, this is a giveaway. This is just more of a teaching thing here. It's like those are all the things that you're supposed to be doing. You know, being prepared, car gassed up, bug out bag. Everybody has a plan. We've already mentioned that in some of the earlier ones, so it's like this one was easy to answer. As much as your favorite episode of Golden Girls or Walking Dead, you know, needs to be DVR.
Golden Girls.
DVR'd, you know, you can live without that, but you can't live without your family.
What do you do if your child is at school when you receive a flash flood warning? A. Proceed to higher ground, leaving your child at school. B. Get in your car and drive over to the school. C. Walk over to the school because the vehicle may not be safe. Or D. Call a friend close by the school and have them get your child. We're getting a few answers on this one. Between A and D, I'm going to go with A. Proceed to higher ground, leaving your child at school.
That's a hard one. It feels like the wrong answer. It's like everybody's like, oh, get over there and get your kid. But if it's a flash flood, that's the trick question part of that, is if it's a flash flood, you don't have time. You might have time, but you don't know you have time, putting yourself in danger, or even grabbing your kid and then finding the 2 of you being washed away in that hypothetical 1 foot of water that we talked about. Flash flood means get to higher ground immediately.
And what is the best way to communicate during an emergency? Is it A, a smoke signal, B, to call, C, text or social media, or D, walkie-talkie or CB radio? I don't think smoke signal is very practical, so we're going to go with D, walkie-talkie or CB radio. But
No.
that's incorrect.
Yeah, because walkie-talkie or CB radio might be nice to have and definitely should be part of your bug-out bag kit if you're really clever, but the calling does not work during something like this. Everybody's calling, 911's overloaded, but social media and texting will go through. You know, just like when you use your phone in a dead place, all of a sudden sometimes you get a text because every once in a while the signal wavers and you get a message through in the same thing. You know, so keep it that, and then you can keep the airwaves open for people that need to use them too, emergency services.
When is it safe to go home? A, 2 to 3 days after the storm. B, only within 2 weeks. C, once the waters have receded from your dwelling place. Or D, when authorities say it is safe. D, when authorities say it's safe.
I know that seems like an unpopular answer, but it's the right one. You know, it seems like, oh, you gotta wait for the man to tell you what to do. But in this situation, it's actually more about protecting you and others. Because if you go in and you need rescue, then they're gonna have to go in and they could put themselves in danger. And the authorities will charge you for that.
Yeah.
You'll get in trouble. You can get in a lot of trouble for entering in a danger zone when they've told you not to, and you can endanger people.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
What do you do when you return home after a flood? A, have a barbecue outdoors because it's not safe to use indoor cooking surfaces. B, take pictures of the damage. C, tear down the house and start over. Or D, throw a house party and invite the neighborhood. A house party would be fun, but I don't think that's the right answer. We're going to go with B on this one, take pictures of the damage.
Yeah, take pictures of the damage is the right one. As much as throwing a party can be fun, all your fine dining has probably been smashed around in the flood, or it's upstairs still packed away safely if you were smart and prepared ahead of time. But insurance people are going to want to see. You're going to need to prove the damage that has happened, and you don't want to just start tearing things apart. And I know your first instinct might be to get home and try to reestablish yourself, but in your heartbreak and your everything like that, you need to still be thinking smart. And if you've got insurance, they're going to want to see the photos before you start messing with stuff.
And what do you do upon returning home and finding your neighbor's dog roaming the neighborhood? Do you A, chase it off? B, keep your distance and contact a professional. C, find a weapon. Or D, try to catch them for your neighbor. I'm going to go with B, to contact a professional.
That's another one that a lot of people probably aren't going to be too happy with. They're like, oh, I could do it all on my own. Every guy thinks he can do it on his own, doesn't he? And but dogs go feral, and there isn't a lot of evidence that feral dogs ever attack people. But when cornered, they can be scared and they may nip at you. And a nip could be, for a small kid, if you don't keep your kids aware of the situation, could be very damaging depending on the dog. It's always best to leave that up to somebody else. If it's your neighbor's dog, let him deal with it, or because he might be more responsive to him. But it's best to be leery of animals, especially after something like this. They can be not just dogs, but all animals.
Where do you find clean water in your house if there is no water pressure? Do you A, find it in the tank behind the toilet? B, the lowest place in the house is water piping. C, the hot water heater. Or D, all of the above. I believe that it's D, all the above, because I know you can find water in all those locations.
And you're right. So if you're not prepared, then you might have to go find strange water sources, like the tank on the back of your toilet. It seems like a weird place. Ew, water out of the toilet. But it's the water before it goes into the toilet. You could easily scoop that out there, boil it. And if you're prepared, you've already filled the tub before an event like this, so you can scoop water out, and you have some sort of a propane thing for boiling water, and or the water tank in your basement. Be prepared, though, is the name of the game.
True or false? You can eat fish that you catch from your roof during the flood. A, false. B, true. I'm gonna go with false on this one, because who knows what's in that water.
Exactly. Just like when it comes to drinking the water, don't drink the Kool-Aid. And don't eat the fish. It's got nasty stuff in it. It's got bacteria from septics overflowing. It's got petroleum byproducts that are now floating and mixing with the water, and any myriad of disgusting household things. You see that viral video on YouTube of a guy in the hurricane, and he's got water in his house, and he's diving after catfish in his living room. But I don't think I'd eat that. No. I mean, you got stuff that's under your sink, bleach and ammonia and all these things that have now poisoned the water, and they're poisoning the fish, and not good stuff. Stay away from it. as tempting as it is to be diving after fish in your living room, I'd stay safe and don't do it.
And that about wraps it up for this quiz. Thanks for playing along with us live, and if you're watching in the review, still let us know how you did, and let us know in the comments if you enjoyed this, and we'd like to make more of these videos.
I wrote this quiz because it's very relevant right now. I wrote it when Texas was just being flooded, and and then there's been Florida and other places south have been really devastated this year. So be aware, be smart. Our hearts and minds are on you guys that are struggling, still putting your lives back together. Take care. You'll be in our prayers.
Thanks.